About YouTube, it's the Shadow King Nazru, and I'm here with my review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I just got back from watching this movie. Um, Managed to get some free tickets by winning a contest. So, that was a bit of a great thing that I got to see the movie for free. Now, what did I think of this movie? I love The Amazing Spider-Man. This, this movie, I really love this movie. Oh my god, movie. This movie was so brilliant. I loved how they were still going on with what happened to Peter's parents. They got that right from the beginning, and instantly debunking the fact that people were saying that they completely forgot about that plot point, and it proved my point that it's still continuing, and that Peter and his parents was still going to be a relevant issue. And it continues on, not just in that intro part. It continues on to the later on in the story. Um, I loved how, um, although I had no problems with the tone in the Amazing Spider-Man, which was a bit more serious and slightly darker than the traditional Raimi Man trilogy, which I despise. Uh, Here they lighten up because people thought it was being too dark and too cynical. Well, even though it never came across to me that. Uh, but let's just focus on the tone of the Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has an excellent tone. It captured Spider-Man's tone perfectly, starting off light-hearted and humorous, with things like Peter swinging around, having fun, being Spider-Man, making fun of the criminals, like Alexei Stitovich, like when he when they're doing the car chase, he instead of just trying to stop him instantly, he tries to have fun with him by knocking on the door and making a few jokes. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Andrew Garfield really nailed Spider-Man in this. He captured everything that was key to Spider-Man: wit, intelligence, uh, his struggles with the mundane life, everything. And it starts off with that light humor with Peter stopping the crime, and slowly progresses towards darker stuff as we see him trying to, I mean, set an example for everybody through his actions of inspiring hope. And we see this through him saving Max Dillon's life, who later on becomes Electro, and helping even the children, particularly this one boy who was getting bullied by these other kids, and it reminded him of a parallel of himself, how he gets bullied by other kids at school, which I felt was pretty nice. And he's into science too. And we another thing that I liked was how they handled the relationship between uh, Parker and Gwen Stacy. And as I said many times before, Tobey Maguire's and Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker and Kristen Dunst's excuse for Mary Jane does not hold a candle to this. That is shit in comparison. Um, we see a great relationship with Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. They they have chemistry. They You see that they actually have personality. They play on each other's wits. They make cute jokes at each other. They even when they're just trying to be friends and not really be boyfriend and girlfriend, you can actually feel the relationship of how genuine it is. And that kind of plays off the fact uh, that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, who play Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy respectively, are the couple in real life. You can actually, and because they have such a great relationship, what happens to Gwen Stacy when she dies. I don't really consider that a spoiler because anybody who reads the comics knows that she dies. Uh, it feels tragic. It really brought tears to my eyes when I saw the death of Gwen Stacy, which was well. Another thing I want to talk about is how they handled the villains. Now, unlike the insufferable Raimi Man 3, where it just had three villains and tried to give them all subplots, no, Amazing Spider-Man 2 does not do that. It did what The Dark Knight did. It had a main villain, Electro, a secondary villain, who's just there to tie up loose ends, which is Harry Osborn, who becomes the Green Goblin. I'll get into that why it's not Norman right now. And the third villain is just thrown in there for fun and to help get the hero out of any turmoil he is at the moment, which is Alexei Sistovich, the Rhino. Now let's talk about Electro. Electro was portrayed by Jamie Foxx, who I felt gave a great performance as this little no loser who can't get attention and respect out of people, even though he's this kind of quirky little guy, a bit scatterbrained, but he's very brilliant. And what he wants most in the world is for people to notice and respect him. And when Spider-Man saves his life and calls him his eyes and ears, he feels that he's actually became friends with Spider-Man, and he's finally getting that recognition. Uh, which and he is practically obsessed with Spider-Man. Even at one point when one of the employees, Alistair Smythe, who was another villain, he wasn't one in the movie, but he becomes one later. Uh, when he made a joke about Spider-Man going in Max's head, he was like defending, ready to kill this guy for just insulting Spider-Man, uh, which I thought was pretty funny. And we then when he has his accident, we get to see just how completely messed up Electro is. Aside, he was already messed up when we saw his room, and he's got a whole practical shrine to him, to Spider-Man, and he wants to make he thinks of themselves as partners because like he has this one newspaper saying Max and Spider-Man saved New York. And he's talking to himself like he and Spider-Man were having a conversation, and he like came to his birthday and whatnot. So he's pretty messed up. And it goes adds even further when he has this accident and becomes Electro, and when he's heads into Times Square and he accidentally causes an accident, and all the people in Times Square are paying attention to him, he feels like he's finally getting attention. Like people people are really noticing me. You see me. And when Spider-Man tries to come in, tries to calm Electro down, uh, the police once again make things worse, and Spider-Man has to stop Electro from harming anybody. And when he does that, the people start praising Spider-Man and taking the attention away from Electro, which is a real blow to his pride because he felt that they were equals, and now that he's getting attention, it's being taken away by Spider-Man, and he feels that Spider-Man set him up and betrayed him, and this causes him to become antagonistic. And I felt that was a really well developed and very true to Electro's character because it plays on his inferiority complex in the 616 comics and how he hates being feared as a nobody. So Electro was well done. Uh, People complained in their reviews that he was underused. I felt he got plenty of time, and even if I didn't think he got enough time, and that's a big if, I still say he got the job done with what he was done because every time Electro was on, he was amazing. Uh, Now let's talk about Harry Osborn with Dane DeHaan. Uh, Harry Osborn is a lot more interesting than James Franco. I'm putting that out right there. Um, when we first introduce him, we get to see that he's meeting his father, Norman Osborn, who's supposed to be Green Goblin first, but is apparently not in this case. Uh, his father is dying, and uh, you can see that just through their dialogue alone, the relationship they have with one another, with Harry feeling that Norman Osborn didn't never paid attention to him, and Norman thinking that is just a spoiled kid and he squandered his life. He had so much potential, and he felt that he was too busy doing something important to spend time with him, which was to cure himself because he had this disease and it passed on to Harry. And now it's a race against time for Harry to get a cure. Speaking of which, time seems to be a huge factor for in this movie. For Gwen, its time is about moving on with her life, despite and it's conflicting with her relationship with Peter Parker slash Spider-Man. Spider-Man, time is going against him because once again, Gwen is moving on with her life while he's still being conflicted about what he's doing. Uh, like I said, time is against Harry Osborn because he's got a disease and he's being driven desperately to cure himself. And Electro, uh, I can't really think of a way that it applies time to him because that's probably because I'm probably still a little raw right in the moment, and I have to think more about how that affected him. But time was a huge factor in a lot of cases. Now, another thing I liked about Amazing Spider-Man 2, where it's unlike the in completely asinine Raimi Man 2, they tackled the issue of the mixed reaction between Spider-Man and the public. Um, they did an announcement that some people are praising Spider-Man, some people still think of him as a dangerous vigilante, and his actions are either saving people and doing the good, doing the city good, or causing the city to become further plunged into chaos. And I really like that because that is what Spider-Man and most superhero movies are about, the mixed reaction towards the public. And I know this might seem unlikely because Raimi Man 2 did it and they butchered it, but I would love if the Amazing Spider-Man series uh, does their own adaptation of Spider-Man No More, where the public's mixed reaction towards him was a huge factor. Now, I was talking about the villains. When we talk about the Rhino, he was just like a cannon fodder villain, just thrown in there for fun uh, and to help Spider-Man get out of this funk he was because after Gwen dies at the hands of the Green Goblin, he he has uh, basically he was just basically there to help him out of that. And another thing I want to uh, talk about is the relationship between Peter and the other characters. I already talked about Gwen. I want to talk about Harry Osborn. Now, I'm mostly not about show. I'm more about show than over tell, but just by them talking their dialogue about their history with one another, it was excellent. I could instantly buy that these guys have been friends for years, and their reunion is so excellent. And the fact that it leads into deteriorates into uh, Peter's decisions, causing Harry to become desperate and insane, which ultimately forces him to become the Green Goblin. Uh, it's a really interesting dynamic. So this was an this was a fantastic movie. It definitely lives up to its name of amazing. On a score of 1 to 10, Wow. I only gave this score to Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods, my favorite movie, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 definitely deserves this. A 10 out of 10. A highly recommended movie. So, instant classic. So, next time I'm going to be talking about the video game version of Amazing Spider-Man 2. So, this is King Nazru signing off.